How can addictions start?
Well, you got to look at it as a predator and then understand the prey. And we all know what predators are. And, you know, they stalk and then they kill. And then you have to get into who's the prey and what are the characteristics of the prey. What does this thing prey on? And, you know, it preys on all of us young who don't feel like we measure up, don't feel like we're quite fit in. And they're the ones that the disease is looking for. And then someone introduces them to a drug, and with one hit of the drug or one drink, those feelings start going away. They feel like they fit in. You know, they feel like they're wanted there. We believe it's helping us more than hurting us. And that's the way it gets in, and that's the way it starts killing us, a little bit at a time.
He was amazing. He was just an awesome person. He brought a lot of joy, always. He always made you feel a little bit better after he left the room. I don't know, he was just, he had the ability to make people laugh and to bring them out of themselves a little bit, I guess. He was just, he had a unique ability to draw friends because he was courageous, and he was a pretty humble kid.
Alex, as a brother, was very fun. He was incredibly athletic. He would try anything and push all physical limits all the time. It was a little bit scary, but also, you know, he was fearless. He could do anything. He had total faith his body could do something, and he did it. So it was an adventure all the time.
Jackson was curious about everything. You know, he wanted to live life, and he lived life big. You know, he was a daredevil on skis. He surfed, he scuba dived, he skateboarded. Like, he did everything full on. And he loved all walks of life. He loved talking to people. He was the kid who would befriend the 80-year-old guy on the ski lift with him and ski with him for the rest of the day.
Dana loved life. She loved being a friend to many people. She loved her family more than anything. They were the most important thing in her life. Dana graduated from Central High School in 2003. She loved being a part of drama and choir in East Junior High and also at Central. She loved being on the stage. She had a beautiful voice. From there, she moved to Chicago about 10 years ago and also worked for a chiropractic office, being their coordinator for their wellness program. She loved to help other people.
On July 20th at about 11:30, I went into the bathroom before I was going to work, and I shot up, and apparently the girl I was seeing at the time heard me fall and hit my head, so she broke into the bathroom and started giving me CPR and called the ambulance. And when I came to, I had my dad shaking me, just screaming for me to come back, and I had no idea what happened. I still don't really know what happened.
Dana passed away from an accidental overdose of opioid prescription drugs. She battled with two illnesses, addiction and mental illness, that being depression. She was prescribed opioid prescription drugs when she was in the hospital for kidney stones and became addicted to them.
I got a phone call from Mike, Jackson's dad, and I just said, you know, how's it going? How are you? And what's going on? And he said, I'm not well. And I could lie and tell you that I can't come to your birthday party because I'm sick. But the truth of the matter is that this morning I found Jackson dead in his bed. And he was 19.
He was in a really good place because he was going to get this. I've got this, Mom. And we had a really good talk. And he came up stairs at about 11 o'clock and got a salad to eat and said, "Good night, I love you, Mom." And the next day, he had overdosed in the night by himself in our basement, in his home.
I mean, it started out real young, drinking, smoking pot, the usual, well, not usual, but I mean, I guess it was for the lifestyle I was living, and then started playing hockey with older kids, drinking every weekend, doing painkillers, doing coke, all that good stuff, and then I knew I was starting to have a problem when some days it was tough to get out of bed.
Kids want to experiment, and they think they're just going to be able to experiment and get off of these things. But what ends up happening is you don't know what's going to happen in your life.
It was kind of like night and day when it started to happen, because he was about 15, and up until then he was very he was an individual, very independent, and he was brought on to the varsity hockey team, and the peer pressure got to him. And all of a sudden, drugs became more important.
Everybody's selling drugs in this town. Everybody's doing drugs in this town. You may think that your kid's some perfect angel. My parents probably thought I was too, but I wasn't. It's not hard to hide. It's not hard to find either. I mean, as long as your kid has a cell phone, he can buy whatever he wants.
The opioid crisis in and of itself is very real. It's here, and it's our brothers, it's our parents, it's our kids. No one is immune to this problem.
When I first started as a police officer, I never imagined that many of the calls that I'd be responding to would be opioid overdoses. I find that we're responding to more and more opioid overdoses. It hits home to see that happening here in our community.
It's hit us pretty hard up here. The opioids are easy to get. They're cheaper than they've ever been. And we get a lot of people, young people, old people. It crosses every socioeconomic status. And we're seeing much more of it up here than we used to.
There's been a perfect storm between overprescription of opiate medications and then a flooding of our market of opiates coming from Mexico and other countries. And the combination of those is extremely tragic.
For a long time, there was concern that patients who were in pain, whether it was from injury or disease like cancer, that those patients were suffering and their pain wasn't well controlled. And that became a big priority in the healthcare industry to better control pain. Studies at the time that showed these medications weren't addictive. If you were using them appropriately for pain, that they wouldn't cause addiction. That has been proven to be incorrect, but we didn't know better.
I think that a lot of doctors don't know what to look out for, and so it makes it dangerous when they prescribe opioids to their patients.
If we want to make a difference, we have to find a way to stop the drug companies who manufacture these very addictive drugs that are making billions of dollars. We also have to put a stop to the doctors who so freely hand out these prescriptions to people, knowing that they're very addictive, and yet offer no other help to them but these drugs.
Opioids interact with the chemistry in your body. When you first start taking them, they go on to receptors that are all over your body and make you feel good. And so you get to a point where you only feel good if you're taking the medication.
I was no longer getting high, I was just trying to keep from getting sick.
I said, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to do them. Well, my first 3 nights in Kalamazoo, I couldn't sleep. My legs were kicking. I looked myself in the mirror and I said, here we go. This is it. You are addicted to drugs.
The main track 2 problems with heroin overdose and fentanyl overdose seem to come from prescription medications as the starting point.
Heroin is a much cheaper alternative, and they don't need to get a doctor's note to get it.
Essentially, once somebody uses heroin, and it could be a first-time user, they're addicted. And when somebody's addicted to heroin, it is very, very, very difficult, if not impossible for some people, to break that addiction.
It changes your brain, so it tells your brain to use drugs just as it tells your brain to breathe. A drug user is playing Russian roulette every time they use drugs. An opiate user doesn't know if it's going to kill them or get them high.
The risk for opiate use is significant because of the overdose deaths.
It's difficult when we go to scenes where we know that an individual has passed away as a result of an opiate overdose, and you see the family struggling and you see the family grieving, and it's their worst fears come true. And that's what I want to see stopped.
So I guess is what we've got to do is get rid of the stigma that drug use is weak, it's dirty and disgusting, that it's only the shabbiest of people that will go there, because it's not. It's not those people at all. It's those people and more. It's my son.
I want people to understand that it's an illness. It's not just a choice. It's not something that they can just get over.
No one's going to look at me necessarily and say, oh, heroin addict. I am. So for the stigma to go away and then be able to reach out for help, that's the best case scenario for literally anybody. It will save families if you just stop judging people and just thinking that, oh, it has to be this type of person that does drugs. It's not.
Dana was full of shame that she relapsed once again, and she isolated. She didn't reach out for help to her NA friends or to her family.
When you have an addiction, it's not fun, and it's ugly, and it's really hard to break free from it.
After a while, you get so sick of disappointing people and just always tell them, no, I'm going to be fine this time. I can do it by myself. No one can do it by themselves.
I know without a doubt that this is not what my daughter chose for her life. And more than anything, she wanted to live a healthy and happy life.
For people who are dealing with people that have addiction in their lives, you don't want them to get to the point where they're being isolated. You know, isolation is like the biggest enemy when you're dealing with addiction, and dealing with trying not to enable by using tough love or something like that, it just creates more space and more isolation and less chance for somebody to get the help that they need. I'm really proud of how my family handled Alex's addiction. We definitely took it as a united front, and we're there for him for any type of help that he wanted. He never had a day that he questioned that. Whatever was going on, he always had a soft place to land with us.
Recovery's possible. We see a lot in the news about overdose deaths. We see a lot in the news about people really struggling. But every day, we get to witness people getting better.
Asking for help is the most courageous thing you will ever do.
Know that there is, right here in Traverse City, we have help available. We have resources, and every day we have new options becoming available to help others.
I just want people to know that they need to take care of each other. The opiate epidemic is bigger than law enforcement. It's bigger than just a mental health issue or a medical issue. It's something that is all-encompassing, and it's going to take all of us respectively to bring it back in and get control over it.
I just don't want to see another amazing kid like Jackson not be able to, you know, ski another mountain.
If you don't already know a family that's affected by addiction, I guarantee you will. You have the opportunity to make a positive difference in this epidemic. And when you share what you've learned, you don't just echo my voice, but you also echo Dana's voice. And through that, she lives on.
Alex struggled with addiction for at least 6 years. I don't want another family or another friend to go through the loss of a loved one so senselessly, because there is help out there.
If I go out and I relapse, I'll end up dead. That's plain and simple, and it's as hard as it is to say and believe it's true. And just to get the word out there and just stop the stigma and to help people, if I could just help one person, touch one family, so that they don't have to go through what my family's gone through. So one kid doesn't have to end up like Alex, or one pair of parents don't have to end up like the Grizel family. That's worth it to me. One is better than none. That was Alex's whole thing, was have a purpose. Do something for this world and for yourself and for everyone.
I know Tyler's doing so much in this to try to change the viewpoint of addiction and try to change how it's handled and try to, you know, create a space that people can talk about it and open up about it. And I think that's exactly what Alex would want, and I think that, you know, Tyler is fulfilling the have a purpose motto that he lived by, and I think that that's something he would be really proud of.